Hello, this video is just going to go through really quick, it'll be a really short video on how to convert units of area and volume. This is usually something that kind of comes up within a different question. You might be asked, you might have to change from centimeters squared to meters squared, or millimeters squared into centimeters squared, and you might have to do that within a question, but it's somewhere where people trip themselves up an awful lot because they forget that we cannot treat units squared or units cubed for area and volume the same as we would centimeters or just units of length. We have to treat them differently, just like we treated the questions differently when we were finding similar areas and similar volumes, and we had to square the scale factor or cube the scale factor. We have to do something different or something similar to that when we are converting between areas, different units of area and volume. Okay, so we'll go through kind of where it comes from first, and then we'll kind of draw from that what the rule is. So here you have two squares that are exactly the same, except one, the units have been given in meters, and the other, the units have been given in centimeters. But hopefully we know that there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So these two squares are the same size. They've just given the units differently. So if we were to do the area in the meters, we would do 1 meter times 1 meter is still 1 meter squared. Yeah, if we were to do that for the area where the lengths are given in centimeters, we would do 100 times 100. So that is 10,000 centimeters squared. You can see there's a big difference. So instead of being 1 to 100, we're going from 1 to 10,000 now. There's quite a big jump in the size of the units. What we've done, if we were converting meters into centimeters, we would times by 100. And if we were going back the other way from centimeters to meters, we would divide by 100 because there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. If we're dealing with meters squared, we clearly haven't multiplied by 100 because 1 times 100 is not 10,000. What we have multiplied by is 100 squared. We've multiplied by 100 times 100, yeah? Which makes sense when we go back to what the lengths of this were. We have times 100 by 100. We have squared 100, whereas this we would just square in 1 and it stays a 1. But for when we change the units, everything is getting a lot bigger, a lot faster, because you are squaring much bigger numbers. And that is kind of the general rule. Whatever you would usually do, whatever you would usually multiply by or divide by to change between units of length, you need to take that and square that number before you can use it for meters squared or units squared, okay? So we'll do two examples at the bottom here. So we're changing 8.3 meters squared into centimeters squared. So again, usually if it was just meters and centimeters, we would multiply that by 100. But because we're talking about units squared, we have to multiply it by 100 squared. So we have to multiply it by 10,000. 100 times 100 is 10,000. So that would be 83. Boy, I've not left myself enough room for my answer. That would be 83,000 centimeters squared, because we're having to multiply by the linear scale factor squared. The linear scale factor being how you change meters into centimeters. This one is similar. So we've got 28 centimeters squared and we want to change it to millimeters squared. There are 10 millimeters in a centimeter. So if we were usually changing this, we would times it by 10. But because we're talking about area, units of area, we have to multiply it by 10 squared. So we need to do 28 times by 10 squared is 100, so 28 times by 100, and again, I have not left myself enough room. 28 times by 100 is 2,800 millimeters squared. Okay, so each time we are working out what the linear scale factor is, if we were just dealing with a length, and we are squaring that before we calculate the new units. We can do something similar for volume. So we have a similar diagram. We've got two cubes where the lengths are the same, just one's given in meters and one is given in centimeters. So here we have 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter, and here we have that changed into 100 centimeters. So the volume of this first cube would be 1 times 1 times 1 is still 1 meters cubed. But for this one, we're doing 100 times 100 times 100. So 100 times 100 is 10,000. And then we're multiplying it by 100 again. So that makes 1 million centimeters cubed. And I'm sure you can predict how we've got that number. To change from meters to centimeters, we times by 100, but because we are dealing with units of volume now, we have to multiply it by 100 cubed. Okay, so for volume, where the units are all squared, we have to square the scale factor. For volume, where the units are all cubed, you have to multiply by the scale factor cubed. And it's as simple as that. As long as you remember that when you're dealing with these types of questions, or when it comes up within a question, you'll be fine. Because like I say, it's something that kind of appears within another question. It's not often that this would come up on its own. What is 3.2 meters cubed in centimeters cubed? So again, let's do the same kind of thing. So we're doing 3.2 meters cubed. I'm not even going to write centimeters cubed because I know I won't leave enough room. And we're changing it into centimeters cubed. Usually we would times it by 100, but we have to multiply it by 100 cubed. Okay, so we are multiplying 3.2 by 100 cubed, which would be, we're moving our decimal place 6 times. So it would be 3,200,000 centimeters cubed. Okay, obviously you can type that on your calculator. I'm just trying to do it in my head whilst I go through the video. 3.2 times by 100 cubed, we're moving our decimal point 6 times, which gives you 3,200,000 centimeters cubed. Okay, and then this one we have 72,500,000 millimeters cubed in centimeters cubed, and we want to change it. So 72,500,000. I got the right amount of zeros there. Nope, need one more. Millimeters cubed, and we are changing it into centimeters cubed. Usually, millimeters to centimeters, we divide by 10. Yeah, because there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter, and we're going from millimeters to centimeters, which means we divide. But it's volume, so we have to cube that. So we have to divide this by 10 cubed. 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. We're dividing by 1,000 this time. So that would give us, take 3 of the zeros away, would give you 72,500. Yeah, have I got the right number of zeros? Yeah. 72,500 centimeters cubed. Okay, so we end up working with quite big numbers, because obviously when cubing whatever the scale factor is, so the numbers get quite big quite quickly. And that is it. Like I say, it's unlikely to ever be a kind of standalone question in an exam. It's usually embedded within something else, but it is worth looking at it in isolation first, so you understand the concept, so then when it comes up you remember it a little bit better. Okay, I hope this helped. I hope it makes sense. Thanks for listening to it all, and have a lovely day.